Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Silas Ozoya. For those that don't know, I'm privileged to be the founder and the CEO at SUBA Capital. And we've been doing this since 2020 for those who are joining us for the first time. And we've literally just moved from being a vision to being a movement. Good to see our friends in Cameroon join us today. Pleasure to have you guys in the group, and that's to tell you that our vision is not just it's not limited to one country. It is a global vision. So I have about 30 minutes or so to quickly run through a very short presentation today. And what we're looking at the team SUBA Capital, where savings meet purpose, and it's tied to this year's World Saving Days theme. Question I would like to ask in chat is, when we talk about savings, let's really look at it in reality. What does that really mean when we talk about savings? So if you want to quickly in chat, Sam, please coordinate this. Just type 3 key things that you save for during the year. So I'll give you about 2 minutes to do that. I'll have a quick look. So somebody says we save for studies. Roberta, thank you very much. Travels. Okay. Fun. That's good. Yes. So what else do we save for? 3 things. What else do we save for? Can we go ahead and just share in the chat, the rest of us, because I know that we have more people in the room. So what else do we save for? Rent, accommodation, investments. Okay. Fair enough. Yes, what else do we save for? The three main things that you would say you save for, what would it be? Okay, so for those that are watching a replay, you can also just put it in comments. So I'll minimize that now, and we'll continue with the presentation. So basically, when it comes to savings, it comes from our income, right? Generally, there is this saying that says, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. It sounds very, very cliche, but it is a reality. That's the truth. Now, let us come from the point of view, because the larger portion of people watching this are Nigerians, right? The minimum wage in Nigeria is about 70,000 naira at the moment, which is somewhere about $50 per month, right? And across Africa and other emerging economies, that stands at between $50, which is the lower end, up to about $400, which is the higher end in countries like Seychelles, right? But in developed countries, you can see that it's an approximate, say, $2,000 a month. So that shows the kind of disparity. So where you already know that the emerging economy is different from developed economy. So basically, you will not be able to compare the access to wealth or income from these two economies. Now, why I'm saying that is because it really matters, and I think that's where the question comes: why does this really matter? Sometimes we make the mistake of comparing chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 10, and this is not just for individual as well. It is also countries. You hear people in emerging economy try to compare themselves with developed economies like the US, the UK, and some places in Europe, right? So before you go ahead to start imitating lifestyles that you see on TV, in your neighborhood, online, You want to ask yourself, do we share the same income realities, with these people? Do we share the same progressive economy? Um, do we share the same growth in terms of GDP and exports and things like that? I saw a funny joke recently in India where a comedian was saying that one of the Indian ministers said, the only way you see that the rupee is falling is when you compare it to the dollar. Well, the dollar is the global currency as it is. Until that has changed, you do not want to start comparing and matching yourself. Now, why this is important is so that it helps you to put things in perspective for you when you are planning your income and what you should do about it. And this is where the SUBA Capital Wealth System, comes into play. And we have been pushing a campaign for more than a year now, if I can remember, where we tell people to start small and grow big. It is a core part of our wealth growth philosophy because we believe that people can start from where they are. And the first key thing that would help you start from where you are is asking yourself, why am I doing this? What is the purpose of your savings? What's the purpose of your investment? Right? And then once you are able to answer that question of why, then how are you going to do it? What formula are you going to use in developing this wealth? And once you are able to decide on that formula, you have to stay consistent. If you look at our terms and conditions, we deliberately say we need you to commit a minimum of 12 to 24 months to consistently develop and grow your wealth. All right. So if you have comments or questions, leave them in the chat and I'm going to attend to them as we go. So to give you a clear picture of what this really looks like, because earlier I asked, why are you saving, right? What formula do you use in terms of achieve an investment? I'll come to that, but let me quickly show you some of the most used formulas in the world. The first step to financial freedom is planning and budgeting, and this is based on like these 5 formulas are like the most popular. When you go through all of the 5 of them, you will see that there is something consistent. The most popular one is the 50-30-20 rule. I have talked about this over and over and over again, where we dedicate 50% to our needs and wants, and 30% to our wants, then 20% to savings and investment. Just right next to that is the 60-20-10-10 rule, where 60% goes into our essentials like housing, transport, and food, and then we put 20% away for savings and investment. We invest 10% in education or skills development, and 10% goes to giving or charity. I know that Africa and a lot of emerging economies are people of faith, so that 10% falls under your giving and charity. The next one after that will be the 70-20-10 rule, where you spend 70% on your living expenses, assuming that where you are is really expensive, and then dedicate 20% to settle your savings and debt repayment, which is what a lot of people really do not know how to manage, right? And then put 10% in investment and long-term goals. Maybe you want to buy a house, you want to build a house, or something that's pretty long-term. Long-term is something that is more than 5 years, right? Or the Pareto's principle of 80-20, right? Where you spend 80% on your living expenses and lifestyle, and then put 20% in savings and investment. The last one is not very popular. A lot of people really do not know about it, but interestingly, that's the one I use, right? The 40-30-20-10 rule, right? Where 40% goes into living expenses, 30% goes into savings and investment, 20% to debt repayment, and 10% to personal growth and leisure. Why I say this is not very popular is because a lot of us in the emerging economy forget that we have to invest in our personal growth and also take our time to rest and take breaks. That is a core purpose. I like when somebody mentioned that one of the key things they save for is fun, right? Most people think it is unheard of, but you should have an enjoyment budget in your income, right? So that is a core purpose. Now, we want to tie this back down to why we are here. The foundation of achieving this in a smart way is having core tools that help you achieve this particular goal, no matter the formula you have chosen in your wealth system, right? Number one is having a high yield savings account. I do not mean the type that the commercial banks or the microfinance banks give you, where they open a savings account and then give you a debit card where you can also withdraw. That is a withdrawal account, to be honest, right? A savings account is where the money is actually saved and tied to a purpose. The second one will be an investment account or an investment plan. This is because if your money is not invested, it doesn't grow. So these two ways are like the smartest way where you can invest or save for a purpose, and then your wealth grows over a period of time. Wealth growth is not magic. It needs time. It's almost like planting a tree and coming the next day that you want to harvest fruit from it. That doesn't work. So if it doesn't work in real life and in nature, why do you think it's going to work with money? Right? So this is where we come in at SUBA Capital, where savings then meets purpose. On the SUBA Capital platform, for example, we have automated savings where you are able to automate your savings based on the formula that you have adopted, whether it is 20% that goes into savings and investment or it's 30% that goes into savings and investment. It is automated, so automatically leaves your account every other month and goes into that savings pot. What we then do is put it into verified investment plans and like commodities, real estate, and things that have been approved by the government and regulators to invest in, to preserve that particular savings as well as to grow it over time. And like I said, consistency is what matters. The good news about this is that it is a very transparent platform. So there's real-time tracking, and you can start with as little as 1,000 naira. That's something around, $5 or £5, as the case may be. So for those of you that are watching, if you are watching the replay, you can see the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can just send savings plan to that WhatsApp number, or if you are currently, if you are online right now watching it live, send savings plan to that particular WhatsApp number, and then you get a follow-up message on, the plans that are available, the link to download the app, and things like that, so that you tie your savings to a purpose. Now, on the platform, each of your savings plan has a name. So if you are saving for fun savings, let it go into that. If you are saving for travel or holiday savings. If you are saving for a rent savings. If you are saving for whatever it is, school fees, investment plan, everything has a name. So there is, on the platform, you can name them. And that's why we say SUBA Capital is where savings meet purpose, right? So quickly, I'll just share this again. The best time to start was yesterday, right? When you didn't know exactly what to do. The next best time is now, right? So because every great story starts with one decision, so you do not wait to act now. Talking about stories, I'll just quickly run you through one. So in 2009, there was this young guy who in Nigeria served with the federal government under the National Youth Service Corps scheme. At the time, he was earning 7,700 naira. Convert that into whatever currency you spend in your country. So 7,700 naira on a monthly basis, and this was for a fixed period of 12 months. And this young guy was keeping 20% of that particular earning aside as a savings towards starting a business. after the NYC program. And by October of 2010, by the time he had just rounded up the program, he took 100. You see that it comes into not too much of money, but it was enough to register his first business. So in 2010, he walked into the Corporate Affairs Commission's office in Benin City, Nigeria, and registered his very first business. I started that business in the creative space, went on to execute an activation project for Nigerian breweries in 2011, went on to expand that business into a digital media company by 2016-2017, and by 2020, that same young man had gone on to incorporate a digital finance platform. The young man is me. So it would shock you that from a meager earning of 7,700 is where my journey started to becoming the entrepreneur, author, and speaker that you know today. So it's a real practical case of start small and grow big, right? So what you think is not enough at the moment is what you need to really get started. So if you scan the QR code on your screen right now, it's going to take you straight to the SUBA Capital platform, and you are then going to start your own journey if you haven't started with us already, right? So thank you very much for listening. I know that was a quick one. It was short, but I would say that let's build wealth together. If you have questions, if you have comments, put it in the chat. I'm going to respond to them in the next few minutes. But if you haven't already, visit the SUBA Capital website, subacapital.co, to see what we are building. And I tell you that it's going to be a global movement, because it is becoming a global movement already. If you are on mobile, download the SUBA Capital app. Follow us everywhere on social media. Add us on WhatsApp. Let's be your friend. Let's be your buddy. Let's have a chat. And I'm ready to take questions now. So let me stop sharing my screen and take a few questions in chats. So, yeah, if you'd like to ask a few questions or make a few comments about the short presentation you've just seen, Sam?
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Salas. Short, brief, and apt is how I'll just define this presentation. Straight to the point, hit the nail on the head, no dilly-dallying, and the key points in which we need to understand when it comes to saving with purpose was actually discussed. So without wasting any further time, we have one question now on the group chat, on the chat. The question is, what is the new threat to interest on savings and money market investment of 10% on interest accrued? How do we navigate this?
Okay, fantastic question. I really, really appreciate that question. Now, here's the good news. Why SUBA Capital is different and one of our unique selling points. Our structure is in a way where it saves us from a lot of charges, because one of the things that kills your savings is bank charges, and this is tied to regulations. So in Nigeria, for example, the CBN imposes a lot of regulatory fees on financial institutions. Because we're a microfinance institution, we are free from a lot of these charges. I said a lot, not all of it. So what that does is that it saves a lot of costs with regards to compliance, a lot of compliance costs, which puts more money in our pocket to be able to distribute to yourselves, interest rate going down and things like that. That investment that we are sure will not go away for a very long time. Take, for instance, our commodity going to eat. No matter how turbulent it is, people are still going to eat. And if you compare the commodity index with the stock market index, you see that the difference is almost like light and day, right? The second thing, real estate. People are definitely going to stay, in homes, and they are going to buy land, they are going to build houses, they are going to have farms. So all of these things are how all of these strategies are how we are dealing with managing the pressure on interest rates. So if anyone is offering you, commercial interest rate at 10% in a commercial bank or a stock brokerage firm or whatever, obviously they are going to pay a lot more in compliance fees than we do, especially because there's a new tax law coming in January, which is also going to increase tax burden. Guess who it falls down to at the end of the day? Consumers, right? And that's where we come. That's our unique selling point. For SUBA Capital, we are able to absorb some of those costs, or preserve some of those costs, or shield you from getting some of those costs because of our structure. I want to believe I've answered your question, Etim.
All right, so Etim, please just confirm in the chat that you understand the question. So while that is going, Mr. Sanders, I have a personal question.
Yes, please.
So,
go ahead.
Talking about savings, right? People save.
Okay.
If you ask the average Nigerian now, do you have a savings budget, or do you have a savings account, or do you have a savings, anything that is savings? They'll tell you yes, they have a savings. But my question now is savings the ultimate goal? Like, it's when it comes to finance, is savings the ultimate?
No, the savings is not the ultimate. The savings is the seed to the goal. So like I shared my story earlier, right? When I saved from my 7,700 NYC pay, I didn't leave it at that. I took that savings and started a business, right? Which is a very risky thing to do anyway, because my risk appetite and yours is not the same thing, right? But for the most part, saving alone is not the ultimate goal. Saving is a means to an end. Savings is a seed. I know I've repeated this severally on several platforms. Savings is a seed. So what is the purpose of your saving, right? Are you saving for wealth growth? Are you saving for rent? Are you saving for travel? It doesn't end with savings. Savings needs a purpose to it, right? So for wealth growth, especially, which is, my particular niche in microfinance or finance generally, is you save to invest. You save to buy into an investment. You save to start a business. You save to invest in, commodities. You save to invest in assets that will grow in value over a period of time. It was Warren Buffett that said that, or Albert Einstein, I'm not sure who it was now, that says that the eighth wonder of the world is compound effect. So once you save and it compounds over a period of time, you start to see the magic happen. So the end goal for me personally is wealth growth, and also to be able to reach and help other people in the community through a business. So there has to be, again, a purpose for why you are doing what you're doing. If you are saving some money, 20%, 30%, as the case may be, depending on what formula you adopt, right? What is the purpose for it? What's the end goal?
Okay.
You have to answer that question. And remember when we started, I said, what is your why? What's your purpose? So savings is not the end goal. It is a means to an end.
All right. Thank you very much. I love that you ended it with what is your why. So I also want to ask, right? When it comes to savings, we are moving the trajectory, or we're moving the focus from just saving to actually saving with a purpose, like tying a purpose to your savings. So what are some factors that an average Nigerian, someone who is earning minimum wage, what are the factors that an average Nigerian needs to consider when creating a savings plan? Because as you said, you cannot be comparing your chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 10. So somebody who is earning
Yeah.
5 million and is having a savings goal or a savings plan of about 2 million a month, you cannot be looking at that same person. So what are the factors we need to
Yep.
consider when curating your individual savings plan?
So number one is emergency. The average African or Asian, especially, I say African or Asian because they are kind of in the same emerging economy. They are one sickness away from going completely wiped out. They are one sudden family event away from getting completely wiped out. They are one incident away. So first things first is have an emergency fund, right? So if you are earning minimum wage, for example, at 70,000 naira, 70,000 naira times 3, right? Let's play with the numbers now. So if you are listening or if you are watching me, get on your calculator, right? Do 70,000 naira times 3, which is going to be like your 3 months buffer plan for emergency. That puts you at 210,000. Now divide that by either 12 or 20 or 24 months. If you divide it by 12 months, that puts your savings goal at 17,500 naira every month. If you divide that by 24 months, that puts your savings goal at 8,750 naira every month. Because you earn minimum wage, you want to be able to buffer yourself for a minimum period of 3 months, right? To be able to come out of any sudden emergency. Now, once you have that, emergency fund over a period of 12 to 24 months saved somewhere, then you can then start considering, how do I grow this emergency fund? Now, that emergency fund no longer just becomes a savings, it becomes something you can then invest into what will grow. So you see the steps I took. Now, with that 20% or so going out of your minimum wage, it would not directly impact your quality of life, assuming you are living within your means, which is the second thing I'm going to come to. For people not earning a lot, even though you earn average income, you should be able to, the typical advice is live within your means, right? This is how. Rents are going up. That one is no news. Rents are going up. Cost of food is going up. A lot of things are going up in Nigeria and across the world. It is not a Nigeria specific problem. It is a global problem, right? So easiest way to deal with that is share costs, right? There is no point of having a massive apartment where you are struggling to meet the need, right? Share costs with your spouse, share costs with your partner, share costs with your friends so that it is bearable. Number two, buy food in bulk, because pay as you go is more expensive, right? Buy food in bulk. Have work hours in, emerging economies is about 8 to 10 hours. Outside of that, your 8 to 10 hours that you work, get something on the side. Get a skill, get a trade, do something on the side of that, right? Because one source of income is not going to solve the problem. So the third thing I would say is have a second source of income. So by the time you do these 3 things, have an emergency fund, live within your means, get a second source of income at least, it helps you put things into perspective.
All right, thank you.
Have I answered your question? Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
We have one question in the chat.
Okay.
Someone is asking if she can invest in USD.
At the moment, we do not have a license to invest in dollars. However, we would be partnering with our sister companies outside of Nigeria to be able to facilitate that. Yes, you can invest in USD from Nigeria, from Africa, from anywhere in the world. But what I would advise is do your own research. If you need to work with us on that, speak to one of our team, speak to us at SUBA Capital. We can facilitate that for you, because we are now developing, or we are growing a sister company in the UK, right, where we can help to facilitate savings investment in a much higher, stronger currency. Let me put it that way. So, for those of you in Africa, because I know that there are people watching from Cameroon, there are people watching from Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana, and everything. So, comparing those currencies with USD, the pound, obviously it's not the same thing. But if you want us to be able to help you facilitate that, we can do that. So yes, it is advisable you invest in USD because it preserves the value of your investment and savings.
All right, all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Silas. I think everyone now has now understood that savings has gone just beyond stashing money away. You have to tie a purpose to your savings. You have to define. I like to say naira. I like to use that term. Advising to define your savings, because what you don't have planned for, anything can happen. And I think that's one of the challenges many people are facing, because they save without attaching a plan and a purpose, and at the end they just tend to dip their hand inside and put it, because the money is just sitting there, sitting pretty, they're doing nothing. So, and also aside saving, you should also have a growth plan. That is one of the takeaways I personally have. As you are saving, have a growth plan. This money that you are saving, you should be thinking of how you can grow it. That is another source of residual income. So thank you very much. And also to all our audience who are present, thank you very much for joining us today. We are glad that you are in the house. Please ensure that this, as I said in the beginning, this is a webinar that we hold every month. We tend to educate us and those who care to listen on everything about financial literacy, money management, finance management. Just discuss and converse on topics that are pressing to the average individual. Thank you once again for joining us. Before we go, please don't forget to follow us on our social media, on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and on X. We made it easy for you, so you don't need to be cramming so many notes. It's just at SUBA Capital. So if you go to any of these social platforms, whichever one is your favorite, you can just search at SUBA Capital and you will see our Facebook page. So please follow us so you can get updates. We give out financial tips, we put out content, and we put out educational content in regards to finance. And also, we also have